selves. You know what's really interesting? When you finally decide to pull back your energy, when you finally stop chasing, stop explaining, selves, stop begging to be understood, that's when she suddenly disappears too. You start wondering, wait, is she also doing no contact with me? Selves, is she trying to play the same game? You start checking your phone, counting the days, analyzing her silence. Selves. But let me tell you the truth. If she's matching your silence, not from a place of peace, but from a place of pride, it's not love, it's toxicity. Selves. Because real women don't play this kind of game. Real women don't go silent to prove a point. They step back to understand themselves. Selves. There's a huge difference between S space and A strategy. Space is healthy. It's a sign of emotional maturity. Strategy, on the other hand, is manipulation disguised as empowerment. Some women use no contact as a tool to trigger your reaction, to make you chase selves, to make you feel that you're the one losing control. They want you to panic, to fold selves, to reach out, because that's how they confirm they still have emotional power over you. And this is exactly where most men lose themselves, selves. They start believing that breaking the silence will somehow bring peace, that maybe one text or one call will fix it all, selves. But every time you break your silence for someone who's using silence as a weapon, you lose your value in her eyes. Selves. She learns that all she has to do to get control back is withdraw attention, and you'll come running. That's not love. Selves. That's a pattern of manipulation. The harsh truth is a woman who's genuinely healing doesn't need to play these games. Selves. She'll take time away to reflect, to process, to work on herself, not to prove anything. But a toxic woman, she thrives on emotional chaos. Selves. Her silence isn't for peace, it's for control. She'll post things online meant to get under your skin. Selves. She'll make subtle moves just to make you wonder if she's over you. And while you're busy decoding her behavior, she's feeding off your confusion. Selves. That's why the only right move is to do nothing, not because you don't care, but because you respect yourself enough not to engage. You stay silent, selves, not as a counterattack, but as a boundary. You stay grounded, not reactive, because when your silence comes from peace, not pride, it holds power, selves. That's how you break the cycle, by refusing to feed it. You must understand something deeply. Your silence is not weakness, it's control. Selves, emotional control. You can't change someone's toxic behavior, but you can choose not to dance to their tune. The more you chase selves, the more you teach them that manipulation works. But the moment you stop reacting, they lose their power. That's when everything shifts. Selves, sometimes she's not mirroring your silence because she's hurt. She's mirroring it because she's trying to win. Let her win. Because the truth is, selves, when you stop playing, you win the game that actually matters, the one for your peace of mind. Don't break your silence to prove your worth, selves. Prove it by thriving without her. Focus on your purpose, your fitness, your discipline, your inner balance, themselves. Because the man who doesn't need to chase chaos is the one who truly commands respect. You're not losing her, selves. You're losing the version of yourself that needed her validation, and that's the best loss you'll ever experience. Selves, if she's also doing no contact, good. Let her. Your silence is your strength. Your calm is your revenge. Your growth is your answer. Selves, never chase someone who plays games with your peace, because no man should ever accept manipulation as love. Selves, you're not losing anything. You're rediscovering yourself. And that's where real power begins. You see, selves, real women, emotionally mature women, they don't play these exhausting mind games. They don't go silent to punish, to confuse, or to test selves. When they step back, it's because they need clarity, not control. But the women who use silence as a strategy, selves, they're not trying to understand anything. They're trying to manipulate how you react. They thrive on power dynamics, not emotional connection. Selves. They don't want communication, they want control. And that's the kind of energy that slowly destroys your peace, your focus, and your sense of self. Selves. These women are not looking for resolution, they're looking for a reaction. They're addicted to attention, even if it's negative. So when they go quiet, selves, it's not because they're reflecting, it's because they want you to chase. They want you to panic. They want you to feel the discomfort they once felt. Selves. It's their way of proving, see, I can make you feel how you made me feel. But here's the catch: mature people communicate. So immature people manipulate. And what happens next is predictable. You start second guessing yourself. You start blaming yourself. You tell yourself, selves, maybe I was too distant. Maybe she's hurt. Maybe she's really done. So you reach out, you send that message, you break the silence, selves. And for a short moment, you feel relief because she replies. But soon after, you realize it's not the same. Her energy changes. She pulls away again, selves. And suddenly you're back in the same loop, chasing approval that never lasts. Selves. That's the dangerous part about getting trapped in someone else's emotional game. The more you play, the more you lose your balance. Selves. You start forgetting your worth. You start living for her responses, her validation, her attention. Selves. You start letting your emotions be controlled by someone who's not even sure what she wants. And that's why I always say, stop chasing mixed signals. Selves. Mixed signals are a clear signal. If she truly respected you, you wouldn't be confused about where you stand. Understand this. Selves. The woman who values you will never test you to prove your loyalty. She'll talk to you, she'll express herself, she'll want to fix things. Selves, not manipulate them. That's emotional maturity. But the ones who enjoy seeing you suffer in silence, selves, the ones who make you doubt your worth just to feel powerful, those are toxic patterns, and no man should ever entertain that. Themselves, because every time you give into it, you teach her that her silence is effective. You show her that ignoring you gets your attention faster than love ever did. Selves. The truth is, attention-seeking behavior is not a sign of strength. It's insecurity wearing a mask. Themselves. A secure woman doesn't need to play games to see how much you care. She already knows her value and she recognizes yours. She'll communicate. Selves, she'll express boundaries without punishing you with silence. But the toxic kind, she'll always test, provoke, selves, and withdraw because her power depends on your reaction. So what do? You stop reacting. Selves. You stop chasing closure from someone who profits from your confusion. You stop playing the game she started. Because the moment you stop feeding her ego, selves, the game ends. And that's when you truly win, not by proving your worth to her, selves, but by proving to yourself that you no longer need to participate in emotional warfare. Real strength isn't in breaking silence. It's in mastering it. Selves. It's in not letting manipulation drag you back into chaos. And when you stop giving energy to someone who's only trying to control your emotions, selves, that's when you finally reclaim your peace. So remember, real women communicate, but the ones who play games will only drain you. Selves, don't let her pull you into her storm. Stay centered, stay calm, selves, and never trade your peace for attention. And that's where most men lose themselves, right there in that silent space between pride and pain. Because the moment she withdraws, the first instinct most men have is to chase, to explain, to prove. Selves. You start telling yourself that if you just say the right thing, send the right message, or show enough effort, she'll finally realize your worth. Selves. But what you don't realize is that the moment you start chasing someone who's intentionally pulling away, you give her the upper hand. Selves. You give her the confirmation that she controls how you feel. Every time you break your silence for someone who's using silence as a weapon, selves, you're telling her, my peace depends on your attention. You might think that reaching out will make things better, selves. But all it does is feed the dynamic she thrives on. She learns that the more she ignores you, the more desperate you become, the more distant she acts, selves, the more affection you give. That's not love, that's emotional training, and you're being conditioned to accept less while giving more. Think about it, selves. When did love become a chase? When did affection become a reward you have to earn through suffering? That's not how genuine connection works. Selves. A real relationship doesn't make you beg for attention. It doesn't make you feel small for wanting consistency. But when you find yourself constantly over-explaining, over-giving, and over-proving, selves, it means the balance is gone, and you're trying to save something that was never meant to be one-sided. You have to understand silence is powerful. selves. It's not just absence, it's energy. And when you stay silent with intention, not as a game, but as a boundary, you shift everything. Selves, you take your power back. You're not reacting to her emotional tactics anymore. You're responding to your own self-respect. You're saying, self, I will not beg to be valued. That's not ego, that's emotional maturity. But here's where it gets tricky, selves. Most men confuse silence with weakness. They think if they don't reach out, they'll lose her, selves. But silence doesn't mean giving up. It means stepping back to see clearly. When you stop chasing, you create space for truth to appear. Selves. You'll see whether she truly cares or whether she was only in it for the attention. Because if she cares, she'll reach out. If she doesn't, selves, your silence will reveal that too. Either way, you win because you find out the truth without losing your dignity. Your silence becomes your teacher. Selves, it teaches patience. It teaches discipline. It teaches you how to sit with discomfort instead of reacting to it. Selves, it reminds you that your emotions are not a weapon someone else gets to use against you. And that's how real men grow, not by controlling others, selves, but by mastering themselves. So when she pulls back and waits for you to break, don't text her, don't stalk her social media, selves, don't fall for the bait. Because every minute you stay silent, you're building emotional muscle. You're proving to yourself that you can hold your ground, selves. That's the moment you stop being her option and start being your own priority. The more you chase her, the more she'll run, selves. But the more you hold your peace, the more you'll attract what's meant for you. Silence isn't punishment. It's protection. Selves, it's how you guard your self-worth in a world where everyone wants a reaction. You don't owe anyone an explanation for choosing yourself. Selves. So when you feel that urge to break the silence, remind yourself, every message sent out of fear will only cost you more respect. Selves. Every time you choose to stay calm instead of chasing, you're becoming the man who's no longer controlled by temporary emotions. Themselves. That's what real strength looks like. That's what separates men who are grounded from those who are desperate for validation. Selves. You don't need to chase what's already meant for you. You just need to stop running after what's trying to drain you. Let silence do the work. Selby. Sometimes selves, the loudest statement you can ever make is saying nothing at all. Listen carefully. When a woman goes no contact with you and it's genuine, selves, she's not trying to manipulate you. She's trying to find herself again. She's trying to heal from what hurt her, to process what went wrong, to understand her emotions. That's what mature people do. They create space not to punish, but to heal. They don't use silence to prove a point, selves. They use it to regain peace. There's a huge difference between silence that brings clarity and silence that creates confusion, selves. But then there's another kind, the silence that's not peaceful at all, the silence that feels calculated, themselves. You know the one I'm talking about, when she disappears but makes sure you see her online, when she posts quotes that feel like subtle digs, selves. When she shares pictures meant to make you jealous, when she knows you're watching and she's performing for your reaction, selves. That's not no contact. That's emotional baiting. She's not letting go. She's trying to control how much you still care. Selves, that's the type of woman you need to watch out for. Because while you're genuinely trying to move on, she's playing a game of emotional chess. Selves. She'll withdraw her presence just long enough to make you wonder if she's gone, then reappear in small ways, like a story view, selves, a random post, just enough to trigger your attention. And the moment you respond, the moment you text her or engage again, selves, she knows she's still in control. She knows she still has a hold on you. That's what she feeds off, not love, not connection, but reaction, selves. You need to understand something important. Not every silence deserves your interpretation. Some silences are sacred, but some are manipulative, selves. The trick is knowing the difference. A genuine woman who respects you and herself won't try to confuse you. She'll communicate when she's ready, selves, with honesty and calmness. She won't make you guess. She won't leave breadcrumbs for you to follow. selves. But a woman who thrives on games will always keep you uncertain because uncertainty keeps you emotionally attached, selves. And this is where your strength is tested. Can you handle uncertainty without chasing it for answers? Can you sit with confusion without trying to fix it, selves? Because the moment you react, you lose control. The moment you break your silence to seek clarity from someone who's purposely keeping you off balance, themselves, you surrender your peace to her chaos. That's why emotional discipline is the foundation of masculine strength. Selves. It's not about being cold or indifferent. It's about not letting temporary emotions lead you into permanent regret. Selves. When she's doing no contact to test you, you have to see it for what it is, for a trap for your validation. If she truly wanted closure, she'd talk. Selves. If she truly cared, she'd communicate. Silence that demands you to chase is not healing, it's manipulation. So instead of reacting, you have to observe. Selves. You have to let her see that her tactics don't work anymore, because nothing confuses a manipulative person more than a man who doesn't react. The truth is, selves, she might expect you to crumble. She might think you'll break first, that you'll text, that you'll come running. Selves. But when you stay silent, genuinely silent, not out of ego, but out of peace, you're teaching her something powerful. Selves. You're showing her that your world doesn't revolve around her approval. That's when her control breaks. It's not about winning or losing. Selves. It's about walking away from dynamics that drain you. Every time you choose not to engage, you reclaim a piece of your energy. Every time you choose silence over reaction, you build emotional muscle, and that's how you grow. Because the truth is, selves, a woman who plays games with your peace was never going to bring you peace. Selves. You can't build something healthy with someone who feels powerful only when you're unstable. So let her be silent. Let her test. Let her play her games. Selves. You don't need to respond to noise when your soul is focused on growth. While she's busy performing online, you focus on your purpose. Themselves, while she's seeking attention, you seek evolution. And while she's trying to control the story, selves, you write a new one where your happiness no longer depends on her validation. Themselves, because real peace begins when you stop dancing to the rhythm of someone else's manipulation and start walking to the beat of your own self-respect. So what should you do? Selves, you stay silent, but not as a game, as a boundary. You don't chase, you don't argue. Selves, and you don't beg for clarity from someone who's trying to confuse you. You let your silence speak louder than any paragraph you could send. Selves. Because real strength doesn't show in how fast you react. It shows in how calmly you can hold your ground when everything inside you wants to break it. Themselves. When you stay silent, you're not being passive, you're being powerful. You're telling the universe, selves, I'm done feeding what drains me. You're no longer trying to fix someone who benefits from your brokenness, selves. And that silence, that calm energy becomes your shield, because when you stop chasing, the power dynamic shifts completely, selves. The one who was used to controlling you through emotional reactions suddenly finds herself powerless. She doesn't know how to handle your calm, selves, because she was never expecting it. She was expecting the begging, the calls, the desperate messages, not the version of you who just walked away without a word. Understand something deeply. Your silence is not punishment, selves. It's presence, it's self-awareness. It's the moment you stop explaining your worth to someone who has already decided to question it, selves. You don't need to prove that you cared. You don't need to prove that you're the better person. It's time and energy spent proving your value to someone who refuses to see it will only deplete you. When you walk away quietly, you're saying, selves, I know what I bring, and I don't need to announce it. That's not arrogance, that's self-respect. Most men break during silence because they confuse stillness with rejection. They think, I don't reach out, she'll forget me. No, selves, she won't forget you. She'll remember your silence because it's rare. She'll remember that you didn't play her game. selves. She'll remember that you didn't react the way everyone else did. And that memory will speak louder than anything you could ever say. Silence, selves, when used with dignity, echoes longer than noise made out of desperation. You have to understand, silence doesn't mean you stop caring. Selves. It means you care about yourself enough not to chase what hurts you. It's the art of letting go gracefully, without drama, without explanation. Selves. Without resentment. You're not punishing her, you're protecting your peace. Because if you keep entertaining chaos, peace will never stay. Selves. And you can't heal in the same environment that keeps wounding you. And yes, it will be uncomfortable. Selves. There will be nights where you want to pick up your phone, type that message, and break the silence. You'll convince yourself that one text won't hurt. Selves. But it will, because the moment you break that silence for temporary relief, you start all over again. You reopen the wound you were finally starting to close. Selves. So instead of texting her, sit with the discomfort, breathe through it, turn that pain into purpose. Go to the gym, read, work, build. Every time you resist the urge to chase, you strengthen your emotional discipline. And that's what defines a man, not how loud he shouts. Selves, but how calm he stays when silence is heavy. When she sees that you haven't reached out, she'll question her own behavior. Selves, she'll start to wonder if she lost something real. That's not your intention, but it's the consequence of self-respect. Selves, because true silence doesn't chase validation, it inspires reflection. So stay silent, but stay intentional. Themselves. Don't use silence to manipulate. Use it to master yourself. Let it refine you, not harden you. Let it remind you that you're in control of your emotions, selves, not a slave to them, because your silence, when rooted in strength, becomes the loudest declaration of power. And in that quiet, selves, you'll find peace, not because she came back, but because you finally stopped needing her to. Silence isn't about ignoring her. It's about acknowledging yourself. It's choosing self-worth over reaction, dignity over desperation, and emotional balance over chaos. Selves. That's what real men do. They don't chase what disrespects them. They rise above it in silence. She might expect you to crumble. Selves. She might think you'll break first, that you'll text, that you'll call, that you'll fold under the weight of the silence. Selves. Because that's what she's counting on, your reaction. That's how she measures her power, by how quickly you respond to her withdrawal. Selves. But when you don't react, when you don't chase, when you don't move an inch toward her game, something shifts in her world. Selves. She begins to realize that she's not in control anymore. And that realization, it hits deeper than any text, any argument, or any attempt to prove yourself ever could. See, people who use silence as a form of manipulation are used to getting results. Selves. They've trained others to fear distance, to panic in the absence of attention. But when you no longer panic, themselves, when you learn to sit in the quiet without chasing validation, you take all that power back. You show her that you don't need to be chosen to feel valuable, that your worth doesn't disappear just because she's silent. Selves. And that is where true transformation happens. In the stillness where you stop chasing noise and start embracing your own calm. She might even start to test you in new ways. Maybe she'll reappear subtly, a random text, a story reaction. Selves. A stranger message after weeks of silence. She'll want to see if she still has access to your emotions. That's her way of saying, selves, are you still under my spell? But your response, or your lack of it, will tell her everything. If you stay grounded, if you respond with indifference or not at all, you break the pattern completely. Because the moment you stop reacting, she loses her control, selves, and you regain your peace. Most men fail right there, not because they're weak, but because they confuse a test for a sign of care, selves. They see her coming back as proof that she misses them, when in reality, it's just her checking whether her power still works. Selves. That's why you have to stay sharp. You can't let emotions blind you to patterns, because patterns don't lie. People do. Selves. When someone keeps leaving just to see if you'll chase, they're not looking for love, they're looking for control. When you stop reacting, selves, when you stay silent, not from pride, but from peace, you're not being cold, you're being wise. You're protecting your energy. You're saying, selves, I'm not available for emotional games. And the beauty of this is that your silence teaches her something words never could, that your love is valuable, selves, but it's not desperate, that you're capable of feeling deeply without losing yourself, that you can walk away without hating her, selves, but also without betraying your own self-respect. You see, silence terrifies manipulators because it exposes them, selves. It shows them their tricks don't work anymore. They can't control you with guilt. They can't pull you back with pity themselves, and they can't trigger you with pride. You've outgrown the level where reaction equals love. Now your stillness means strength, selves, and your distance means discipline. That's when the energy shifts completely. She's the one wondering, she's the one missing, selves. She's the one chasing what she thought she could control. But here's the thing. Don't let that be your motivation. Selves, don't stay silent to make her chase. Stay silent to make yourself whole. Because the moment your silence becomes about revenge or proving a point, selves, you've already lost your peace. True power is when you can walk away quietly, without bitterness, without anger, just clarity. Selves, you're not trying to hurt her. You're just unhurting yourself. And in that space of silence, selves, something beautiful happens. You start to